Happy wholesome Wednesday, everybody. Welcome to your favorite current affairs breakfast show. This is Africa Good Morning with Aina Raizakoya and Glenora Shipura.
Now, Aina, today is quite an interesting day. Today is World Ego Awareness Day. And I know me and you have to check our egos sometimes, right?
Definitely.
We all know someone who we would say has an incredibly inflated ego. And while we all have a very good idea of what ego is, we seem to lack an understanding of just how damaging that this phenomenon can be. World Ego Awareness Day is our opportunity to spend some time in self-reflection, exploring our ego, while simultaneously exploring our experiences with those around us, and to determine how much of their perceived ego is our own coming into conflict with others. Let's take a look at this video on World Ego Awareness Day.
Welcome back to Africa Good Morning. Let's get into the news making headlines. At least 14 people dead in East Congo refugee camp attack. At least 14 people were killed in an overnight attack on a displaced person camp in East Democratic Republic of Congo, Ituri's province. The latest violence in an area overrun by militants, the army, and a civil society.
A study by an international group of cancer consultants says the number of people dying of the disease in sub-Saharan Africa could reach and even exceed 1 million per annum within 8 years due to an insufficient number of specialist cancer centers and too many patients seeking medical attention when the disease is too advanced for treatment. Kenya has set up a task force to deal with the rising death toll from cancer and is expected to move towards universal health care. A move then could reveal helpful because a new study by a group of cancer consultants found cancer deaths in sub-Saharan Africa are set to nearly double, rising to 1 million deaths a year by 2030. Dr. Wilfred Ngua is an associate professor of radiation oncology and molecular radiation sciences, Johns Hopkins Medicine in the United States. He is the lead author of the Lancet Oncology Report. The medical journal set up a commission of cancer specialists to look at the rising numbers of cancer and cancer deaths in 54 sub-Saharan African nations. Prostate, esophageal, and colorectal are the leading cancers in incidence among men in Kenya, and in women, breast, cervical, and esophageal cancers are the most common. Aspects like Dr. Ngua says high cost and poverty at root of treatment failure also account for the high death toll. Too many patients seeking medical attention when the disease is already advanced for treatment. In 2018, cancer was the third leading cause of death in Kenya, according to the Ministry of Health.
In our next story, Ghana suspends search for sunken boat crew. Authorities in Ghana have suspended the search operation for a missing crew of a fishing vessel that sank off the country's western coast. Stormy weather conditions and difficulty in holding a net full of fish were believed to have led to the vessel capsize, according to a fisheries official. 15 people were rescued alive, but 8 others are still missing. Rescuers also retrieved the body of the captain, one of 6 Chinese nationals on board. The authority says they are still monitoring to see whether bodies of the missing persons will be washed ashore.
Tunisian president names new election commission members. Tunisian President Kais Saied on Monday appointed new members of the election commission to be headed by Farouk Bouaskar, the official gazette said, entrenching his one-man rule and casting doubt on electoral integrity. Said said last month he would replace most election commission members, seizing control of one of the last independent bodies in the North African country. Said had already dismissed parliament and taken control of the judiciary after assuming allegations. The government of Rwanda has halted the organization of the national event to select Ms. Rwanda following several allegations of misconduct and abuse towards contestants. The country's Ministry of Health and Culture, Rosemary Babazi, said the Rwanda Inspiration Backup, which is the official body that organizes this event, has been barred from going ahead with the preparations. She further revealed that her ministry, in conjunction with the Rwanda Culture Heritage Academy, will consider looking for a new organizer for the event. The suspension comes at a time when Daunde Ishimwe, who is the executive of Rwanda Inspiration Backup, is undergoing investigation over the sexual abuse of several contestants. We will be right back shortly after the break with more news. Stay with Africa Good Morning. This is Africa Good Morning, still bringing you the latest in news stories. In our next story, Burkinabe authorities hopeful of saving workers trapped in mine. As the race to save 8 workers trapped in a zinc mine entered its 3rd week, Burkinabe authorities are still cautiously hopeful. A government delegation traveled Thursday to the Canadian-operated mine located in the city of Pekoa. There on April 16th, 8 miners were trapped as the underground section of the mine flooded due to heavy rain. The Minister for Public Services, Basoloma Bazi, Minister for Public Services, explained how the rescue operation was proceeding. Families of miners, 6 Burkinabe.
All right, now in our next story, education authorities condemns MANEB's electronic registration. Education authorities from government and private schools are appreciating the introduction of e-registration for registering candidates and collecting examination fees both for primary and secondary school national examinations. Malawi Examination Board introduced electronic systems in 2021 as a way of bringing sanity on examination fees payment and reduce school challenges that comes with the registration. Rosemary Firi, a primary education advisor, said the introduction of e-registration has eased the work that the head teachers in the school are facing during the whole process.
In our next story, Mozambique, India joined working group on defense back on track to tackle terrorism drug trade. Mozambique and India intend to revive its joint working group on defense as part of the counter-terrorism efforts and at the same time promote their respective blue economies and curtail drug trafficking. This was agreed on during the visit to Maputo by India's Deputy National Security Advisor, Vikram Misri, where he met the country's Ministry of Defense and Interior Security officials last Friday. The Joint Working Group on Defense was initially activated in 2006, but only met twice in 9 years, leading to India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Mozambique's President Filipe Nyusi in 2015 pledging to step up its operations. However, since then, nothing much had been done through the working group. In a communique, the High Committee said the two sides agreed on the need for the early convening of the meeting of the Joint Working Group on Defense. There was a convergence between the two sides in the strategic space, including cooperation in the areas of counter-terrorism, illegal narco-trafficking, de-radicalization, and maritime security.
In our next story, Nigeria's Jonathan does not endorse a bid for re-election as president. Former Nigerian President Goodluck Jonathan has not endorsed a bid to have him seek a ruling party ticket to contest the presidential elections next year, his spokesperson said late on Monday. A group of supporters from northern Nigeria brought nomination forms for Jonathan to take part in ruling All Progressive Congress Party primary elections scheduled for the end of the month. Jonathan's spokesperson Ikwechuku Eze said in a statement that the former president, who held power under the People's Democratic Party, now in opposition between 2010 and 2015, did not authorize the purchase for a nomination form, a requirement for candidates to take part in the primary elections.
Former Kenyan Meta employee files lawsuit. In Kenya, a former employee of Facebook parent company Meta has filed a lawsuit alleging that poor working conditions violate the country's constitution. Daniel Matowang's petition says locally outsourced workers who moderate Facebook posts suffer irregular pay and receive inadequate mental health support after viewing disturbing content. Mr. Matowang says this moderating work has given him post-traumatic stress disorder. He was sacked after trying to get dozens of colleagues to form a union. The lawsuit seeks financial compensation and an independent human rights audit for Mr. Matowang's office. It also wants the court to order that unionization's rights be protected. A spokesperson for Meta said it required its partners to provide industry-leading pay benefits and support. Now, the outsourcing company Summer has previously rejected claims of mistreating its employees.
All right, those have been our stories. When we return from the break, we bring you more continental news, as well as we cross over to our correspondents in Zambia and Cape Town, or rather Arihohad. We'll be right back from the short commercial break.
Thank you for staying with Africa Good Morning. Antimicrobial resistance occurs when bacteria, viruses, fungi, and parasites change over time and no longer respond to medicine, making infections harder to treat and increasing the risk of disease spread, severe illness, and death. The government, through the MICT Ministry, had a public discussions on the dangers of antimicrobial resistance, with experts coming through to speak at length on the topic. Let's have a look.
Dr. Bush, can you tell us what is antimicrobial resistance?
Yeah, in short, antimicrobial resistance is the ability of a microorganism to resist and grow despite the presence of a drug that was designed to kill that bacterium.
Okay. Okay, I'll get back to that one. Next question. While I'm formulating that question in my head, because now you made me very curious. In 2015, the Global Action Plan on AMR, or antimicrobial resistance,
It was for training and research and development. And these objectives, they were superimposed on currently already existing policies, programs, and policies and programs that we have in place.
Yeah.
So these ones, when you look at each of these objectives individually, just shortly, we wouldn't go into them now deeply, but the surveillance is just for to have like an overview of what is actually going on out there constantly, to always know what is out there, to know what we're dealing with currently. When we look at prevention, we look at things like how we could prevent antimicrobial resistance. Looking at prevention, we would focus on vaccination, on biosecurity measures, on hygiene practices. And then when we look at rational antimicrobial use, these are now by the medical practitioners or the veterinarians out there, and as well as the end users. When we look at the communication, awareness and collaboration, that is awareness both at the human sector and the farming sector, and the collaboration between all of these sectors to make it a one health. And communication is also just what we put out there and what we're getting back from each of these sectors. When we look at the education and training, we look at what basically we want to train the prescribers out there, the end users of these drugs, with the problem that we're facing. And with research and development, we look at things like how can we use what we know now and what we're learning currently to help us in the future, what resistance we're having currently, and what we will do about it in the future, or how we could curb this, or do research into finding new ways, new means, new drugs. That's basically
in a nutshell.
The objectives.
Okay. Dr. Bush, we come back to you, and based on the expected objectives and plans of the Global Action Plan, the Ministry of Agriculture, Water and Land Reform and other key stakeholders hosted a stakeholder workshop on antimicrobial resistance. Who are these stakeholders and what are their various roles as stakeholders in ensuring that the objectives of these plans are achieved?
Yeah, thanks for the question. So anyone working on AMR in Namibia is a stakeholder of relevance to us. So that could be, as my colleague Dr. Anderson has said, that could be colleagues that do research and development, looking for new drugs to actually make sure that we have antibiotics that will definitely work, because as I have said during my first question, these bacteria will constantly find strategies to make sure that the newer antibiotics will not work. So for research and development, it's really important. So we have the Namibia Medicines Regulatory Authority, for example, in Namibia, that keeps an eye on the drugs that are being prescribed by medical practitioners, but also by veterinary practitioners. We also have, let's say, the Central Veterinary Laboratory that plays a central role. It's just about to establish AMR surveillance on the veterinary side. Then, of course, the Ministry of Health as well. They have a number of work streams where they look into antimicrobial resistance and strategies to combat that. And based on the guidelines that already exist by the World Health Organization, by the World Organization for Animal Health, the OIE, and also by the Food and Agricultural Organization, the FAO. So anyone in Namibia working on AMR was a potential stakeholder for us and was invited to the workshop and to the stakeholder meeting. And you may remember The last workshop was held in March 2020. Again, a lot of these stakeholders came together, and my colleague will talk about this later on. A number of strategies developed, but because of COVID-19, unfortunately, not much has happened in the meantime. And this stakeholder meeting and workshop was
Welcome back to Africa Good Morning, and now we cross over to Zambia, where Master Mike Sichula has the news on the ground. Good morning, Mike. How are you? Mike, are you there? Can you hear me? Mike? Well, it seems like Mike cannot hear us. We'll cross over to a short commercial break, and then we'll come back and try again.
Careers Bistro focuses on the movers and shakers in the corporate world. If you would like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, contact Zone at synergy.com.na.
We apologize for the technical difficulties. Now, the government of Zambia and Vendata Mineral Resources have agreed to suspend legal action surrounding Konkola copper mines in liquidation. Master Mike Sichula has this story. Mike, are you there?
Africa, good morning. I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
We are fantastic. Please take your first story.
Yes. The development regarding Konkola copper mines, like you have indicated, that Zambia and the Vendetta, the owners of Konkola copper mines, have agreed to end legal action, comes in the wake of the decision by President Hakainde Hichilema to revive the mining output in the country. So what has been happening is that Konkola copper mines was placed under the provisional liquidation in 2019 after the previous administration alleged that the company had lied about the expansion plans and failed truly through taxes. So following that decision, Konkola copper mines was...
Mike? It seems like we have lost Mike once again. Mike, are you there?
The legal action so that so that the mine can begin to operate normally. So this is what has happened, but the government has said it does not mean that the legal action has ended. They just want Vendetta to be part of the proceedings.
Mike, in a related development, I understand that the Canadian mining firm First Quantum Minerals plans to invest $1.5 billion in the expansion of one of its mining companies in Zambia. Can you briefly take us through the story?
Yes, the First Quantum Mines is one of the other biggest mining institutions in Zambia. And so over the weekend, the company said they have approved plans for 1.25 billion expansion of the company's Kansanshi copper mines in Sorezi, which is in the northwestern province. So this decision has been labeled as a commitment to investor confidence in the mining sector. So a number of people have reacted to this. Even the Zambian government has appreciated what First Quantum has done, and they are hoping that other mining companies are going to come and invest in the mining industry. So this is something that is huge, and it is expected to start operating by 2023, and they will expect to produce 30,000 tons of nickel in concentrate and create close to 800 jobs in the initial stages.
All right, Mike, a popular musician has said that they are going to retire from the entertainment industry now. Is this a true story, or is this a build-up for a new album?
Yes, this is one of the popular musicians that Zambia has. He goes by the name of Makitu, but his full name is Mulaza Kaila. He's widely known by that stage name. So what has happened is that he belonged to a certain musical group called Kalandania Musical Group, which was hired by the previous political administration, the Patriotic Front, to do political songs ahead of the 2021 general elections. But after the fall of that political party, the group that was promoting him has come under fire from investigators. And this company has more or less like become in a difficult situation. So Makitu is known for his performance in the Big Brother house, and he's got a foundation that he supports children within his communities. So his decision to quit, retire from music has come as a shock. But he says he's going to retire next month when he's going to have his official retirement function somewhere in Lusaka or on the Copper Belt.
Now, Mike, I understand that Zambia's footballer export to England won the Goal of the Season award on Monday.
So that it helps the Zambia national team to qualify to the Africa Cup of Nations in Ivory Coast next year.
All right, Mike, thank you very much for bringing us the news from Zambia.
Thank you very much, Africa. Good morning to all our viewers across the African continent.
And Africa, good morning. It is indeed. Now let's have a look at today's weather prediction from across Southern Africa.
Careers Bistro focuses on the movers and shakers in the corporate world. If you would like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, contact Zone at synergy.com.na.
Thank you for staying with Africa. Good morning. We now cross over to Ari Hougaard, bring us the latest news from South Africa. Good morning, Ari.
Yes, a very good morning. It's nice to talk. Lovely morning to you all.
Thank you. So I understand that prominent gold mine group Sibanye-Stillwater declared a massive production loss of 4 billion rands in the first quarter of 2022. Can you expand on this story?
It's a big numbers that's mentioned, and it's done with a production challenge that they had at the Beatrix mine. There's also strikes that started just at the end of the first quarter that had an influence, but the strikes will probably more be affected later in the second quarter that ends in June. But for the first quarter, it was the Beatrix mine that was closed December to February for, they needed to adjust a few things with safety. But the reality is, unfortunately, for Sibanye-Stillwater is that the production is down 47%. So it's 4,264 kilograms of those lovely gold that you see there on the screen that was produced. Normally the production is 8,097, the average. So it is roughly at 1 million South African rand per kilogram. It adds up to 4 billion rand that was lost in production. So it's a big number. But like I say, it's got to do, the big influence was that Beatrix mine was closed for a few months.
All right, staying with the Sibanye Stillwater, we understand that 30 to 40,000 has been lost during a strike. Please tell us about this.
Yeah, it's sad. It's the workers that really hurt here. It's a fight between the mines and the unions, the workers there in the middle, and they're getting frustrated, and that's why they also stormed the stage, or didn't allow the president to speak in Rustenburg on Workers' Day. So it is 24,000 workers that didn't work now for 60 days plus for 3 months. It started the 9th of March. So it's for an average of roughly, for the category 4 workers, it's about 33,000 rand that they lost in the 3 months, and the category 8 is 41,000. So collectively, it's 1.3 billion South African rand that wasn't paid for wages to the workers. So they're losing that. So they're fighting now for, if it's 800 rand a year or 1,000 rand a year, that the increase must be. The mines, Sibanye increased their 800 offer now to 850. But it will take 14 years for these workers to get back that money they lost if it's just 200 rand that they earn more a month. So that is sad.
In your next story, South African Airlines agreed on a partnership with Kenya Airways to negotiate better jet fuel prices and a steady flow of supply that can at least last for 12 months.
Yes, it's incredible the effect of this Russia and Ukraine invasion challenge, and it is a massive impact on fuel that, as we see as a consumer, just for our cars, but also for jet fuel. The supply is the challenge, and so they've come together. They've in a partnership. They've got bigger bargaining power as a collective, and so they, from July, they at least have a better price that is fixed for 12 months, and also a better steady flow in supply that is confirmed. So there was a challenge in Nigeria with airlines asking there for certainty of supply, but at least South African Airways and Kenya Airways taking hands there. It's a nice initiative, being stronger together. So that is good to see.
All right, now South Africa has a lot of cases of up to 85,000. What are they related to?
Yes, it's the fingerprint identification, and it's got to do with safety clearance and clearance certificates, and then also the firearm licenses. So there's a system that your fingerprint needs to be tested against the system. So there's a new automated fingerprint system that was implemented a few months ago at 60 locations. But you can see all those pages there, all those files there. That's what it looks like when there's 85,000 cases that still need to be solved. So it's a backlog. Hopefully they can address that. But it is also the department that have challenges with non-payment of electricity bills and also landlord disputes. So that didn't help. But the reality at the moment is there's 85,000 applications that needs to be worked away. So hopefully they can do that. But there's a new automated fingerprint system at least. So hopefully that will help.
Yeah, hopefully it will. Now, in your next story, I understand that Cricket South Africa have dropped all charges of misconduct against current Proteas coach. Can you tell us more?
Yes, it's an ongoing case that came for a few months. So it was strong allegations. There was investigations on going back to the playing days of Mark Boucher there in a picture. So the accusations was that there was racially, that there was statements made and songs that was sung against one player specifically, that is Paul Adams there. Paul Adams did testify earlier to that account, but now he, in the latest situation was that he said he's not prepared to testify. So I think it's also a challenge that if he doesn't want to testify, then it is the case of Cricket South Africa was not strong enough. It's sad. There was lots of issues. There's the handling of the Black Lives Matter that was also on the table, and assistant coach Enoch Nokwe that and the relationship with him. So it wasn't good for South African cricket, not good for South African sport. I think moving forward, it's just good to see that they can take hands hopefully now and go forward and play well and win test matches and T20s and one-day games. So it's good to see there's no hearing and that everybody is happy. I think everybody's happy, so we hope that's the case.
All right, thank you very much, Ari, for bringing us these news stories.
Yes, lovely talking, and have a brilliant day in Windhoek. Goodbye.
A brilliant day we shall have indeed. Coming up next right here on Africa Good Morning is economic news and economic indicators.
AgriMonitor is jou weeklikse landboukundige program wat jou die jongste nuus in die landbouverwante bedryf en onderwerpe wat daaraan gekoppel is, bring. Vir enige advertensie of nuusverwante navrae, kontak agrimonitor@synergy.com.na.
Happy Wednesday and thank you very much for joining us. Let's get into our economic news stories. Angola first IPO to spur wave of listing stock exchange, says the CEO. Next month's debut initial public offering on Angola's Gotv stock exchange is expected to unlock a wave of new listing, its chief executive said. As the Southern African oil producer forges ahead with a far-reaching privatization drive, Gotv will begin expecting bids next week for 1.9 million shares, a 10% stake being offered by BAI, Angola's largest private bank. BAI's listing is expected on the 9th of June. Under President João Lourenço, the OPEC member has embarked on an ambitious reform program to modernize the economy and attract private investment. The state plans to sell its stake in firms including upstream oil company, a fuel retailer Sonagalp, and a television telecommunications provider TV Cabo Angola.
In our next story, Kenya resolves fuel dispute with Uganda. Kenya has moved to avert a diplomatic spat with Uganda over a decision to localize fuel cargo meant for Kampala. Petroleum Principal Secretary Andrew Kamau told Business Daily on Monday that Kenya shared a record of available stocks of diesel and super for Uganda in this month's allocation quarters, easing fears of a looming fuel shortage in the neighboring country. Kenya last month ordered oil marketers to localize 133.5 million litres of super and 104.7 million litres of diesel that were meant for the transit market, prompting protests by the Ugandan parliament over looming outages. Uganda relies on Kenya for transportation of 75% of its fuel requirements, highlighting the adverse effects in the likelihood of disruptions from Nairobi. Kenya ordered oil marketers to localize fuel cargoes in MT Campo and MT Alka Athena in a bid to ease a biting shortage that is still affecting rural parts of the country. But the decision came at a cost to oil dealers that mainly deal in the transit market, as their supplies to the regional market took a hit.
In our next story, crypto crash, Bitcoin extend losses drops 11% to 30,339. Bitcoin extended losses dropping below 31,000 for the first time since July 2021, putting its decline from a November record high to more than 50% amid global flight from riskier investments. The world's largest digital token fell as much as 11% to 30,339 in New York. The one-day intraday drop is the largest since the 21st of January. Ether fell as much as 11%, while Solana dropped 14%. In advance, Alancha dipped 18%.
In our next story, Tanzania government announces 100 billion shilling fuel subsidy. The Ministry of Energy, January Makaba, yesterday said the government has provided a subsidy of 100 billion shillings to reduce fuel prices in the country. Speaking in Parliament, Mr. Makaba said the subsidy will reduce government spending for the remainder of 2021 to 2022 fiscal year. He said the subsidy would not affect the ongoing development projects. President Samia Suluhu Hassan has instructed that the next financial year was far away, therefore recovery should be sought sooner. Therefore, as an emergency measure in this period before we reach the new financial year, the government will dedicate 100 billion shillings to reduce oil prices in the country. Now, the 100 billion shillings subsidy will take effect from June 1st, 2022. This is due to the fact that wholesalers have already paid for the fuel cost included in the May 2022 prices and petrol.
All right, those have been our economic news stories. Coming up next, economic indicators. Thank you for watching Africa Good Morning. Now, Ari Gohad brings us the latest from the world of sports. Let's have a look.
Good day, everyone. Time for international sports news, and starting off with tennis news. Lots of great tennis still being played. The latest tournament that started is the Italian Open. It's a WTA ATP 1000s tournament. That means that all the best players in the world will be in action. Starting off with the men's section, it is Stan Wawrinka. He's a three-time Grand Slam winner. He's making a comeback after injuries, and he beat Riley Opelka. That's the 14th seed. So a great win for Stan Wawrinka. He won by 3-6, 7-5, and 6-2. Also through to the next round is Fabio Fognini of Italy. He came through in a game also against a player that is coming back from injury. That is Dominic Thiem. That was quite a close game as well. That was 6-4 and 7-6 in the second set. It is Fognini that goes through to the next round. The top seed in this tournament for the men's section is Novak Djokovic. Also Alexander Zverev will be the second seed. Nadal will also be there. Rafael Nadal will also be there. And then the defending champion of the Madrid Open, it is Alcaraz that will also play. Daniil Medvedev, the number 2 player in the world, is still out injured.
He definitely is special. I mean, already he's breaking a lot of records as a teenager, you know, winning 2 Masters events this year and a couple of 500s. And I mean, so far he's the best player in the world, no question, this year. I mean, with the results that he's been doing. And the way he was dealing with the pressure, I think, I mean, in our match a few days ago, and how calm he was all the way till the end was impressive. So he deserved to win the trophy, and everything about his game is really impressive. He's very complete, can play equally well defensively and offensively. So he's the talk of the sport, and I think it's great in general for tennis to have somebody that young who is bold enough to challenge the best players in the world and win big trophies, but at the same time be humble and nice off the court, which he is. So yeah, I definitely wish him all the best, and I'm sure that there's going to be a lot of interesting encounters with him on different surfaces, with other players, with myself, hopefully, because he brings a lot of energy on the court, which is nice to see, and you know, that's why people like him and they follow him closely. So, of course,
of Germany, the score was 6-1 and 6-4. And also Simone Halep, she's through to the next round, beating Alice Cornet of France 6-4 and 6-4. The winner of the Madrid Open, that is Ons Jabeur. She is from Tunisia. She's the number 9 seed in this tournament. And moving on to boxing news, and it is the WBA, the boxing movement in the worldwide boxing movement, WBA, that say they will still continue to host boxing matches where Russian and Belarus fighters are involved. That comes after the Russian fighter Dmitry Bivol. He is the light heavyweight WBA title holder, fought against experienced Saul Alvarez. That was in a light heavyweight fight over the weekend, and it was Dmitry Bivol that won that fight over the distance. It was 115 to 113 by all three the judges, and it was Bivol that won that fight. That was only the second loss of Saul Alvarez in his career. He's had 61 fights, and he only lost to Floyd Mayweather, and also now to Dmitry Bivol. And it is controversial that the WBA allowed the Russian fighter Bivol to fight in Las Vegas. That is because all the other boxing associations, the WBC, the WBO and the IBF, all said that they will sanction any Russian boxers boxing in the USA. And let's continue with golf news. It is the latest world rankings that came out, and it is Max Homa that won the Wells Fargo Championship just this last weekend. That went up from 37th in the world to 29 in the world, so a great advance for Max Homa of the USA. The world rankings at the moment is number 1 is Scotty Scheffler of the USA, then John Rahm is second after winning in Mexico. John Rahm won the Mexican Open, and then it is Colin Morikawa of the USA that's in third. Southern African interest is in number 15. It is Louis Oosthuizen. In the women's section, it is Jin Young Ko of South Korea. That is the world number 1. She takes over from Nelly Korda. Jin Young Ko had a good season so far, winning the HSBC World Championship as well. But it's also Nelly Korda that is battling with illness, and she didn't play in the last month or two. And the number 3 in the world is Lydia Ko. She is from New Zealand. So that's the international sports news for now. Hope you have a great day, and we talk again tomorrow. Goodbye.
This is Africa Good Morning, and if you've just joined us, here are your highlights. At least 14 dead in East Congo refugee camp attack. Cancer cases soaring in sub-Saharan Africa, report finds. Ghana suspends search for sunken boat crew. Tunisian president names new election commission members. Angola's first IPO to spur wave of listings, stock exchange CEO.
All right, those have been our stories. I thank you very much for joining us on this beautiful Wednesday morning. We do welcome your remarks regarding our show. You can post them on our Twitter and Facebook pages. That is at Africa Good Morning. We also have a lovely website with all the content that we produce here at NMH. That website is called One Up 2. This particular show is on DSTV channel 285 as well as Gotv channel 94. And with that being said, it's all our love, all our light.